Welcome, thinkers, to this week's Thinking Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Wu, and we're really excited to have on Ranidu Lankage. He's the CEO of Whale, a video Q&A app that's really blown up in recent weeks. I think it just launched about a month ago, and it's been one of the most engrossing new apps that I've personally seen over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of our listeners and community members also have played around and enjoyed it a lot. So really excited to learn about Ranidu's journey from really coming from a music startup initially, and then just sort of stumbling upon or in the entrepreneur's journey, landing on it, such an interesting concept. So I want to welcome Ranidu to our episode
Thanks,
today.
Jeff. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just dive into it.
Yeah.
I think that I've been fairly bearish on apps, in general, because, one thesis that I've always had was that interesting applications are built on top of interesting hardware improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And on our mobile phones, our hardware has really stagnated over the last couple of years, right? Like the iPhone 7 Plus really has the same functionality, more or less, as an iPhone 4.
Yeah.
But it seemed like you guys have hit a nerve where you guys are opening up new use cases for the mobile device. I'm just curious how you guys stumbled upon and how you guys discovered this sort of quick, awesome Q&A experience.
So the end of last year, Justin Khan, who's my co-founder, partner at YC, if people don't know, they
Justin,
probably do.
Yeah.
Got really into Snapchat. Right? Like he was all about Snapchat. And one of the things that he was doing that had the most engagement was these exercise bike Q&As, where he would just get on his bike and say, hey, what up, Snap fam? Ask me questions.
Fitness is the first step to greatness. That's an awesome catchphrase. Yeah, I think he's definitely, Justin's Snapchat is one of the, has tens of thousands of followers, I believe.
That's
and
right.
It's like one of the, commonly used as like a, hey, go follow this guy as an interesting person to watch on Snapchat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he does a ton of different types of content, right? Like sometimes he talks about topics, sometimes it's, him partying or traveling somewhere. But the most engagement was happening when he was doing the exercise bike Q&As. And he was getting a ton of questions, maybe up to 200 questions a day. And Snapchat really wasn't meant as a platform to be a Q&A platform, right? There's challenges with when people DM you questions. If you open the DM, it's gone, right? And then you have to remember who that is and hopefully the question, and then record it. And then he was recording the answers, the same answers again and again and again as well, because everything disappeared in 24 hours. So he really wanted a kind of a repository of his knowledge. That was one driver.
Right.
The other one was that our co-founder Leo was actually in China working on a couple of different startups, and he also heard about this product called Fenda.
Okay.
So that was one of the other kind of inspirations for the product. So putting those two things together, because we knew, and Fenda was an audio platform, but had this interesting coin Q&A model, and also they had celebrities on it. But we really wanted to go about it the way that Justin was doing, like kind of get knowledge influencers and also be on video, because we felt that it was way more personal, and just to make that interaction really easy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we came up with the idea.
Yeah, I think that people have struggled to find that right balance of informative and fun, right? I think like Quora, Jelly, I think kind of are attacking the problem in a lot more.
Yeah,
I'll say it like a boring way, right? Like you got to sit there and craft like a 30-minute response to like some Quora answer. And I think there's some value to some long form stuff, but it feels, I remember it just felt like very intellectually masturbatory to be like, I'm really smart in Quora. And I feel like Whale taps into like it's quick, it's fun, it's right. Exactly. I think which is like an interesting combo.
Yeah. So we on mobile devices, nobody wants to really read a 30-minute piece on mobile. Like it's very hard for people to consume that long form text content on mobile, right? And when we thought about mobile, what did Snapchat really nail? Like it was a fun experience, and it was video, personal, and it was very short.
Right.
So we were thinking about like, okay, how do we bring knowledge and make it fun? at the same time, and easy enough for the content creators, because if we set up the platform so that you can record unlimited length videos, that would get into again the issue with Quora, right? Like you really have to think about it.
3-minute speech keynote for every single question.
Exactly. And those things, although they may be informative, they get boring, right? Really quickly. So we wanted to kind of have that element of fun and specificity, as well as kind of easy to use on mobile, on video. Right. So that's all of those things kind of came together, and that's how the product came about.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm curious. So you guys were working in the artists union.
Yes.
For a couple years, right?
Yeah.
And so what was that journey like? I think it's pretty typical that you have a core strong team of people that would just end up working really well together and riffing together. And
Absolutely.
Then perhaps the first idea wasn't like, it probably, I don't know, it seemed like it was a cool product, but I obviously didn't, I think, capture attention as much as like Whale is doing now. How did that decision happen?
Yeah.
How that journey happened?
So I don't know if I talked about this on Whale, but I was a pop artist growing up in Sri Lanka. I'm still, recording musician.
That's dope.
Signed to Sony when I initially started, and then I've sold, millions of records out there and toured.
Wow.
Which was my music
kind of
background. It was pop music,
okay.
R&B, pop, hip hop music. So I was one of the first artists to actually bring like hip hop and R&B into Sri Lanka and record it in Sinhalese language. So that was my music background, and I kind of since then like DJ'd and kind of done electronic music as well. So played at like Coachella and Ultra, etc. So I had this music background while I was working at Google. Justin really wanted to, after Twitch, do something in music. I'd known him since college. We went to college together. And that's how kind of I ended up starting a music. I always wanted to start a music company. And then at that point, Justin was like, I really want to do something in music. Let's do it together.
Right.
So I just kind of made that leap and started The Drop initially with him, which was like a product hunt or Reddit for electronic music.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah. So that was a cool
You guys, like,
experiment.
host a little drop parties at Justin's house. I remember seeing
something. Exactly. We used to host drop parties. I used to host drop parties at Justin's house, and we kind of had a nice little community going. But and then we were like, okay, well, the retention was actually pretty bad on The Drop because people didn't want new music every day.
They want to discover their favorite track and then just play it. Okay.
Yeah, and they also want a lean back experience. Music, 90% of music is actually lean back.
Okay,
and that's why Pandora, Spotify, all of the big music services are kind of focused on the radio experience. Right. People want to hit a button, get music, right? Yep. So obviously something like The Drop, where you have to actively engage and hit upvote and comment to get the best music to the top, wasn't working as well. So then as an artist, I was thinking, okay, how do we create value for artists, right? That was something we cared about, and that's how we came up with the Artist Union, where you could trade your music as an artist essentially for social media following, because that's what's most important now, to be big on SoundCloud or Spotify or YouTube, so that then you can tour and make all your money there. So nobody's really making money off of recorded music. They give away the recorded music, make great tracks, give it away, get fans, get their emails, get big on social media. Then
it's like the long-term greedy play, right? You build up a following and then monetize people.
Monetize later. Yeah. With shows and etc. And also actually with any booker at any club or any festival now, the first thing they look at is all your socials. And if you don't, even if you're a Avicii and if you have only 100 followers, they're not going to book you. So we helped with that core problem. And the platform actually did pretty well. We are up to about 50 or 60,000 artists now. Wow. There's millions of users using it. But again, music is a very complicated industry, and that's what people realize after they get into it, the rights issues, and you just, unless you're trying to be SoundCloud or Spotify and do major deals with the major labels, which you need a lot of money for, and you need to basically make that upfront investment with them and negotiate for maybe a year and a half before you can actually exactly. Before you even have a business model, you start paying money out, right? Which that was the point when we were like, okay, well, this is still growing, but it's not going to be a business. We love working with artists.
And you guys are pretty experienced entrepreneurs, right? You guys have been around the block. Obviously, Justin's involved
Justin's
a lot of companies. I mean,
exactly.
You've been around the block as well.
Yeah.
I mean, people have always said that, like, don't do music startups because it's like super hard in terms of like rights labels.
Yeah.
But you guys
still did it.
You're like,
still did it.
Fuck, we're smart. We can do it.
We can do it. And I think we created something of value for artists. That was the main thing. For me as an artist, it was very important to build something of value for our other artists. And I think we achieved that. And that was the thing for Justin as well. He just wanted to build something that was a lot of artists used and get access to great artists and get access to a lot of great new music, and we achieved that.
Right.
But having engineers, having at least a seed round raised for that company, we thought, okay, now we actually have to create something more real and something that's more sustainable to employ engineers in San Francisco.
Right.
Now, the Artists Union could be a very nice lifestyle business anywhere in the world, but it wasn't going to be a venture scale business. And that was definitely a tough decision to make, especially because I was like I said, an artist.
This is your baby, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You guys are busting your butt on this.
Yeah, exactly. And working, and music is a very hard space to actually get some network effects going and bigger artists.
Is this like a slow realization, or is it just like at a certain point it's like, hey, we gotta have a come to Jesus moment, let's like talk about what we're doing?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. I think we were realizing it in around May, but I think in July we kind of had that conversation. Like after the 4th of July holiday, we all came back and we were like, we gotta pivot. And initially, it was, but the good thing was that we did have an idea, right? Because sometimes you want to pivot, you realize you have to pivot, but you don't really have an idea.
Right. So you're just like waddling around.
Yeah, like trying to think of ideas. And I think I was open to doing pretty much, I think at that point I was like, let's just put all ideas on the table. And Justin felt very strongly about video and Q&A, and we had pretty good evidence that it was working on his Snapchat, right? And that people were interested in this format of content. And I was also, very intrigued by the whole, hey, people are asking you questions every day. And
the same questions.
And we should be able to kind of fix this problem. And also then the monetization plays came in later. The coin mechanics and everything.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just felt like it was an interesting opportunity. It was UGC, so no rights issues.
Right.
Also, I think there's a side of this platform where it can help creators still.
Right.
Like on YouTube, on even musicians, they could get on here and answer questions and like have a dialogue with their fans. There's no other platform that you can do that at right now, other than maybe Twitter. But there's the filter issue, right, which we've also solved with the payments. So I think there's a side of me that also still wants the creative community to use it.
Right.
But I'm also really focused on creating knowledge influencers, because I think there's other influencers, talents based influencers, right? I'm a musician, I'm an actor, I'm an artist, right?
That's YouTube's your spot, basically.
They have platforms.
Right.
I think knowledge influencers like you I had the only platforms we've had was maybe Twitter and Quora or Medium, right?
Right.
Those are all pretty much text-based, text-first platforms.
Right.
So we wanted to bring knowledge influencers to the to video and on mobile video.
Yeah, I think that's like a interesting concept. I feel like we're more and more going to a day and age where brands and influencers are really converging into one.
Yeah.
Right? I think like you see like Jessica Alba, like you're an influencer and you're like a rock star businesswoman. And I feel like more and more people and more just like good founders will have to like look more and more like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is your theory around like celebrity influencers and like business people?
I think if you're at the top of your game in any field, you have to be good at business. There's
Right.
no other way to get there,
Yeah.
right? You have to be very driven. You have to have focus. You have to have goals, and you have to be able to execute really well. So, like for me as a musician, like I didn't have a manager and agent and all these this big team around me when I was growing up in Sri Lanka doing music stuff, right? I had to basically figure all of that out. The business deals with the labels, like I had to read the contract and figure out what's in the contract and actually
Did you
get
even
that
know what
done.
was standard? How did you even know what to even negotiate?
You gotta talk to other people.
So you just hustled, talked to the smartest friends you knew, and just
Exactly. Talk to other artists who came before me and what their contracts look like, and then kind of negotiate. So you need to do that. And if you actually look at the top musicians, you be surprised, like the people who do the best in the long term, they run their own business. They're involved in their business. Right. If you're not involved in their business, you're getting swindled.
Yeah.
Trust me on that. So I think that's why it's pretty interesting when celebrities and like people who have done really well in some shape or form, maybe social media celebrities, come into business. They still have a business sense.
Right.
And I think that's going to be pretty key to kind of their success, right? That's why they're successful.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that Taylor Swift is like, I think she got like a joke award of being the best CEO in like 2014 because like she very much, it sounds like, runs her operation,
absolutely,
runs all the creative, owns a lot of like all her rights, etc. Or just like
exactly. Yeah, you have to own your own destiny as an artist now, and
almost all creators like I think and I think entrepreneurship is almost like a creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Field now.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship actually always was creative.
Right.
But now I think there's more awareness of what entrepreneurship is and how creative you have to be to succeed, right?
Right.
Because all of us are problem solving every day, trying to come up with interesting solutions to things that probably were solved before or maybe even not solved before, right? And then we're just like thinking off the top
or
of
the
our
axioms
head,
of environment have changed every
exactly.
5 years. So like even if it's solved before, it's a new playing field.
Exactly. It's a new play. There's probably a new way to do what was done before.
Yeah.
And that's part of the good thing. I'm sure like with Whale as well, like there was plenty of Q&A sites and apps.
Yahoo
before.
Answers is like
exactly.
the original.
Yeah, original.
Yeah.
There was Kiwi, there's Jelly, there's all of these platforms, but I think we just have an interesting form of content with the 1 minute video answer, and that people are gravitating towards that.
I think it's also interesting that you're also bootstrapping the network off top of influencers.
Yeah.
Right? It's I think end of the day, people like other people, right? Like I think you go watch everything like cool gadgets. That's like ancillary to like fundamentally. I think people are attracted to other people, and you have the best people on your platform. Yeah, they will bring their fans,
networks, their fans. Yeah,
which I think is like this is a smart way to do it.
Yeah. So that I think we thought of. How do we create the highest quality content for the initial users that we bring in? And thankfully, because we've been around the block, we had a very good network in Silicon Valley. And for some of those people, it's the first time. I don't know if you've done a lot of video stuff before Whale.
Not too much.
Right?
Just traditional media. And I think there's like a fun... Yeah, I think it was like the combination of Snapchat where it was like 1 minute, like pretty casual. It didn't feel too stressful to be like, I have to like make this a perfect like production value thing.
Yeah.
And there's reasonable questions like, okay, this is kind of fun.
Right. So those were the two things that we wanted to unlock. So a lot of people that are on the platform, like, you, Josh Ellman, these people have a lot of great knowledge in their fields, but they've never done video before, right? Because, Snapchat's wasn't the kind of community that they wanted to engage with.
Right.
So that's, I think, interesting as well, because some of our creators didn't do video before.
Right.
And they're coming into this.
Most of them haven't.
Exactly. Yeah, most of them actually haven't.
Right.
And that's really exciting to me. So we're almost like unlocking this knowledge that was not on any video platform before, because
Right.
YouTube is a very large kind of production, right? You got to have a bunch of cameras like this,
Right.
and like you really have to create long form video, and that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to kind of make it short enough and easy enough to unlock that knowledge. And I
Yeah.
think you can get a lot out in a 1 minute video.
I think
What
it
do you
forces
think?
the influencer to just be like, hey, like think about crisply like 3 things to say and just knock it out.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
I think it's good because I think a lot of times you get pressure to, okay, you start people ramble. I think you give them open mic, just start
Rambling.
saying stupid stuff for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm
And
cu-
and
yeah,
the
go.
attention spans are pretty low as well, right?
Right.
Those are obviously, if you look at the platforms, right, that's been around for a while, everything seems to be getting shorter and shorter, right? So you're going from YouTube, which is unlimited, to like, and then there was that extreme of Vine, which was like 6 seconds.
Right.
But whatever's kind of bubbling up to the top has always been shorter and shorter, kind of this micro video format. It's because people's attention, they just don't have the attention to kind of watch.
What does that
movies
say
and stuff.
about our society? It's interesting, right? Like I think, like Abraham Lincoln would have like, I don't know, 20, I mean, people would give like hour and a half long speeches. That just would not fly in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too many sensations, I suppose.
Exactly. And too many distractions as well, and too many sources of information.
Right.
So people are very careful about where they spend their time. And as a platform, when you're a big platform like Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, it ends up sucking up most of your time.
Yeah.
Right, on your phone. And then when new platforms come about, you really have to have a very, very good,
sharp to like break the top 5.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's I guess the next mission, right? Like
next challenge for us.
There's like the 5 apps that dominate like 95% of attention.
That's right.
How do you penetrate that?
Yeah. And I think that's by creating great content first, right? And having that interesting content format where it doesn't feel like a huge commitment to open it up, right? And browse a few videos, right? And the other interesting thing that I realized by talking to our users in the last few weeks is that we are taking time away from Snapchat and Instagram for our engaged users. And they feel like the time they spend on Whale is way more, they feel better about it.
Right.
Because they learned something.
Yeah.
Like I learned a ton from you. And
Thanks.
I've learned a ton from people on Whale and things that I had no idea.
Yeah, it's like a pretty good discovery platform. Like everyone's like pretty reasonably eloquent on their topics, and it's like, oh, like I want to learn about like men's fashion from this like fashion blogger. Like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And it's only a minute again, so that keeps things light, right? So it's like, oh, it still feels like going on Instagram or Snapchat, but I feel better about the time I spend in there because I maybe I learned 3 or 4 things every week that I didn't know before that I wouldn't otherwise learn as well. Yeah.
I want to dive into your personal story. I mean, obviously you seem like polymathic, right? Like you have music background, and now you're being a high-tech entrepreneur. Like what I guess tips or suggestions in terms of just like being exposed to so many different ideas, and being able to execute them well?
So I think one of the things I learned growing up in Sri Lanka, my dad was in the army, so there's a lot of time management, and he almost pushed me to do multiple things. He wasn't happy with you just go to school and get good grades, right? So I played probably 4 or 5 sports growing up.
Wow.
In high school, and for Sri Lanka, actually, I played squash for
the national team.
The national team.
Even more polymathic.
So and that like really helped me switch context, right? So I was like doing squash or like different sports, and then academics and the music stuff was going, and I think that's really helped me in life. I didn't really realize it then, but like being able to do multiple things at once and manage your time and be able to switch context and be kind of flexible with things as well. That was the other thing.
Yeah, actually, I've been thinking about this recently. I think that's the highest level skill that one could have being a founder, because there's so many. Like I think most people like context switch very slowly. Like if you're coding, like you can't really think about like signing contracts because just like
Yes.
so much state to like reload, or you got to think about marketing now, right? Like
Yeah.
making a silly like marketing video is a very different kind of thinking than like, all right, let's be serious about like a legal contract to like
Right.
got to talk to like an employee to I gotta code like fix this bug.
Right.
And as a startup, like you have to be like you're basically dealing with all this stuff
all
all
of
the
this
time.
stuff. Like my day today, I've already, and by the way, the artist union is still going. So
Right, that's
this
why
morning
yeah.
I recorded some whale videos. I talked to people about some bugs. Then I had a call on the way here in the Uber about the artist union and a label we're setting up with another company. Then I'm talking to you now.
Right.
Then I have a user interview at 12:15. Then I have some 2 community manager positions that are coming up because we want to start actually marketing because we
Right.
worked on retention. And yeah, so this is kind of, you're doing all of this
day in
stuff
life,
in one day. And that's what I thrive off of. I actually realized that. I didn't realize that for a long time. But I think if I was to just sit and code for a day, or not that I'm an engineer, but if I had to do something, I think I could do it, but that's not what I enjoy. I thrive off of this kind of context switching and
Right.
having to do all of this stuff at the same time. And
Do you think that's a learned skill, or is that like a natural talent? Because I think that some people would not be able to jump so
right
quick,
in.
right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think it's probably like a trained skill. If I think about it, right, you just have to like blank out, like just kind of
Shut that one off and then get to the next thing. I definitely think it was think for me personally, it was nurture, and like I said, my
Right.
dad's pushing me to do all this. Dad and mom both pushing
Right.
me to do all these different things. But I think you do develop it if you can actually balance your life, because a lot of people also, they just do the one thing,
Right.
and they kind of turn off everything else in their life, right?
Right.
I think how you practice that is like try to live a full life, right? Try to do things outside of work as well, and that'll actually help you do better at work because you can do multiple things then.
Right.
I know a lot of people say, oh, you should just focus on one thing and that's when you succeed. To a certain extent, that's true. You do need to focus on things to get to
some baseline level of competence.
Competence, exactly. But beyond that, I think to succeed, you need to do multiple things. If
Right.
you can't do multiple things, in the end, you can't succeed.